Well, we've got some questions
All right,
for
let's
you.
go for
We've
it.
got your questions, and we have some honest answers. This is from Carol, who says, Pat, my husband recently converted all of our investments into gold or silver. He feels the Lord is guiding him to do this. He listens to different commentators on the internet who say the U.S. dollar is worth little and say our financial system is going to collapse because of our country's huge debt. Are you concerned about this? Do you think there are measures Christians should take to hedge against inflation?
You know, the idea of gold is a big hedge against inflation. We really haven't had any inflation. Inflation has been down so low, and our problem is deflation, not inflation, right at the present moment. You look at a fellow named Buffett. He's made his money on the idea that the American economy would grow, and he was going to get stocks that would grow at the rate of about 25 to 26% a year, compounded. And that's how he thinks that gold is a barbaric relic and it doesn't have any interest. You know, the jury's still out on gold and silver, but to put all your money into something like that is, I think, very unwise. You know, the stock market is doing extremely well these days, and the American economy is doing well. And a little bit of gold along the way is sort of an anchor to the, you know, to the right or the left or whatever you want. It doesn't hurt, but anything more than that, I think, is foolish. All right.
Okay, this is Brock, who says, I cannot find anything in the New Testament that obligates me, a Gentile, to tithe 10% or whatever to God. Has God left it up to me? I'm very thrifty, but don't want to cheat God. I've not given regularly in this regard for many years. Could you please recommend a basic standard, if there is one, for this penny pincher? I have a total and net income after deductions on my tax return. Which should I base my decision on, if either? Also, is this type of gift tithe acceptable to God when applied to a television ministry such as yours? I also have great compassion for anyone who suffers from breathing disorders, since the type of research involved is curing these diseases is of a secular nature. Would a donation to any of these not qualify? I know, Brock.
How many questions are you asking? You're asking about 4 at the same time.
He wants to know what to do with his money spiritually.
Well, I know. The rule was that, you know, Jacob was wrestling with the Lord, and he said, look, you look after me, bring me back, don't let me have any pain, and I'll give you 10%. Well, wasn't that a big deal? You take care of me, and I'll give you 10%. Jacob was a deal maker. 10% has been the idea of a tithe. You know, you would give that unto the Lord. But, you know, many people, 10, 20, 30%. And, you know, according to the IRS, you can give 50%. So, you know, the question is your tithes and offerings. Out of the abundance of your heart you give. God loves a cheerful giver. And the idea is we give to the poor, we give to the needy. And the overall church includes hospitals. It includes ministries like CBN. It includes television. It includes schools. It includes so many things that we give as unto the Lord. And I can't tell you which one to give, but you let the Lord lead you. But a tithe is a minimum of what you ought to give, all right?
Okay, this is a viewer who says, can you have a mental illness and still have the mind of Christ? And how do most mental healings take place? I ask because I'm dealing with one myself, and I've set my mind to be ready to be completely delivered by the Lord.
Well, the Lord will set you free. You ask, these are very hard questions that we're getting because they don't have easy answers. You know, we are under the conclusion, and I think it's a right one, that a person suffering from a mental disease does not sin because they don't understand the difference between right and wrong. So I think the idea of an idiot committing some horrible crime or sin isn't in the offering. You wrote that question having to do with some mental problem that you have, but you didn't say what it was. So it could be that you're psychotic, that you have a split personality, that you have something, I don't know what it is. And if you were in the throes of some psychotic episode, your actions at that point in time, I don't believe would be counted against you. Beyond that, though, you need to have treatment. There are chemicals that cause you to have some of these problems, and there are chemicals that will counter against it. There is the old-fashioned psychoanalysis, which lets you go through your problems and work out an answer. There's so many ways of getting help, and there's people who are trained so well who are Christians. You need to find somebody that way to give you the help you need. And I believe Christian psychiatry and psychology at Regent University, we're training people with doctorates in psychology that are, experts in these diseases and these things to take people. And I do believe that we need to give people help. But your question is too vague for me to give you an answer.
You don't know what they're dealing with.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't have the idea what we're dealing with. Okay. Mm-hmm.